And a very good evening to you. I'm Lisa Lord with the Tuesday, January 20th edition of the CBC Evening News. And our top story. After recusing himself from the first sitting of Parliament for the year, Speaker Michael Carrington presided over the second sitting of the House for 2015. This, however, did not go down well with Opposition Leader Mia Mottley, who on a point of privilege sought to have a suspension of Parliament, saying it can't be business as usual. This led to a double walkout of Barbados Labour Party MPs. Opposition MPs last week raised concern over Carrington presiding over that sitting in light of recent developments in a private matter in which he is the attorney.
If we asked for a suspension to deal with this matter so that we did not have to deal with it in the public glare, Mr. Speaker, it ought to have been granted. But if that is the only way we can deal with it, then this is the only way we can let our views be known. Because, Mr. Speaker, quite frankly, and without prejudice to the committee, I believe, sir, that given a judgment that has been granted against you, that these are matters where people appropriately believe that you ought to vacate the Speaker's chair, not temporarily, but permanently.
And Speaker Michael Carrington said he was not charged and so saw no reason why he couldn't take the chair. He made the opposition aware of the correct procedures.
Honourable member, do not interrupt me when I am speaking. Honourable member, do not interrupt me when I'm speaking.
Speaker, I have never said...
Do not interrupt me when I am speaking. That is the rules. I am guided by these rules, which I invited you to apply ever since. Good. A matter was raised by a member. I recused myself so that the Deputy Speaker could deal with that. Nobody has informed me subsequently, but I learned that a matter was referred to the Committee of Privileges. I have not been charged with anything like any public officer who should be suspended, contrary to what you are saying. If you think I have been charged, bring the charge and let me see it. All right? If you have a problem, I can't see any reason. I don't know of any resolution which was passed by this House saying that I cannot take this chair.
And Prime Minister Frundell Stewart, who rose to place his position on record, suggested that the matter is a private one. He called on MPs to subscribe to the code that guides Parliament.
That code of noblesse oblige, which should bind all of us. And I really am just intervening to put my position on the record. The matter has been referred to the Committee of Privileges. I didn't think it should have been referred in the first place, but it is there. Because I did not hear any privilege identified that would justify any matter being referred to the Committee of Privileges. I was not in my seat at the time, so I couldn't speak on it. But I know that Your Honor is the custodian of all of the ancient rights and privileges of this House, claimed on behalf of all honourable members.
And at a press conference this evening, Ms. Mottley stated that the opposition will turn up for each sitting of the House, even if they remained in the precincts of Parliament. She said that they would only attend sit-ins chaired by the Deputy Speaker or the chairman of committees. Ms. Mottley said this will occur even if opposition members had to climb the stairs 10 times. She said that the action would continue until the matter was dealt with by the Committee of Privileges. Well, government has announced a number of increases in fees across the board at the Bridgetown Port. The increases are part of revenue-earning measures announced by Minister of Tourism and International Transport Richard Seeley as he led off debate on the Barbados Port Incorporated Amendment Bill 2014. Some of these fees, the minister says, have been unchanged for over 30 years.
Master stevedores will have to pay some more money for their license to carry out their occupation in the harbor. They will now have to pay $1,500. They used to pay $1,000. Ships agents will also have to pay $1,500. They used to pay $1,000 as well. Or ships channelers, they used to pay $500. They will now be paying $750. And tour operators that used to pay $500 will also be paying $750 as well.
There is also a proposal for Barbadians to pay a personal effects fee of $25 to clear barrels from the port.
I think it's important the House be aware. Customs charge a processing fee of $10. A processing fee, that's not duty. customs charge a processing fee. The importer, of course, gets their handling fee. The broker, of course, gets the broker's fee. The Bridgetown Port gets absolutely nothing right now, and is responsible for sorting, storing, racking, organizing these containers, these barrels or equivalent units. It is only reasonable, Mr. Speaker, that the port should get something. And I really don't think a $20 bill is unreasonable.
Mr. Seeley also revealed that Barbadians stand to benefit as some fees will be eliminated.
For example, all locally manufactured goods, all goods manufactured locally will not attract any fees at all when they're exported in containers. That used to be $45 per container. In essence, we are trying to give a little boost to local production as well. And even that in itself speaks to the overall development ideas that we have for activity in Barbados, for economic activity.
Member of Parliament for St. Michael West Central, James Paul, says businesses need to reduce the amount of containers leaving Barbados empty. Mr. Paul says this is costing the country money. He too was speaking during debate in Parliament.
At the end of the day, this country is subsidizing it because I'm sure consumers will appreciate that the reason why the prices of the goods are high is essentially because of the fact that you have to offset the cost of shipping back out those containers. If we have something to send back out, what it means then we can actually reduce the cost of the goods and services to people in this country. And not only that too, we might be able to reduce whatever subsidies there may be that we have to give to the port as an operation, as a government, to give to the port as an operation. And that in itself eases the burden on the public and the government in this country more and more.
A government member of Parliament says commercial banks are flush with savings while there is a dire need for investments in this country. MP for St. Lucie Dennis Kelman says that Barbadians have an estimated $9 billion in savings in banks. He says these savings are just sitting idle.
We feel proud to tell people that we have invested in the bank. Nobody invests any money in the bank. The only people that invest money in the bank are the people who own the banks. You have savings in the bank. And the truth is, if you want to know how significant your investment is in the bank, just look at the inflation rate and look at the rate of returns, and then you can easily measure whether your savings mean something to you or not. And I'm saying to Barbadians that we need to take the money out of the banks, not the way you might interpret it, but to do some more investments in country Barbados, because this is where we have to live. We have to live here. We don't have anywhere else to go.
Well, government is taking steps to address the natural gas shortages that have severely impacted some commercial customers along the south and west coast of the island. This revelation from Prime Minister Frundle Stewart in Parliament earlier this evening. He says that the boards of the National Petroleum Corporation, that's the NPC, and the Barbados National Oil Company held a special joint meeting yesterday and decided on a series of measures to tackle that problem.
Estimated that 4 small air mix the NPC has agreed with could be ready for shipping of natural gas for these users to switch immediately to alternative fuels for the short term. The possibility of recovering natural gas from outpost wells was explored. The company revisited a number of wells whose production had fallen below the economic threshold in the past and identified 2 wells with possible potential for gas recovery. This work is going to entail the connection of these wells to BNOCL's existing gas gathering system.
The Prime Minister says several other initiatives are also being taken.
It is estimated that 4 small air mix plants could be ready for shipping to Barbados towards the end of January 2015. 1 large air mix plant with built-in redundancy will be installed at Woodburn after NPC has ensured the integrity of the pipeline to cope with such an installation.
Mr. Stewart says the Ministry of Energy is also looking at the transportation of compressed natural gas by trailer-mounted vessels. He adds that in an effort to increase gas production and the reserves, BNOCL will be resuming its expanded drilling program in the third quarter of this year. The natural gas shortage has been blamed on increased consumption by commercial customers, in addition to a decline in the supply by BNOCL wells. Well, there could be some level of disruption in schools on Thursday. That's if today's deadline issued to the Ministry of Education to settle outstanding matters of concern to the Barbados Union of Teachers at 2 secondary schools is not met. Those schools are the Parkinson Memorial and the Alma Paris. The ultimatum was issued following a meeting at the start of the new school term by the BUT. BUT President Pedro Shepherd tells CBC News the union has so far only received a letter of acknowledgement from the Ministry of Education. He says if there is no word from education officials by the end of classes today, there will be some form of protest action the next school day.
On two fronts. One, on the issue of non-compliance by the Ministry of Education to the 2-week deadline, and secondly, by what we consider to be disrespect from the same Ministry of Education in relation to resolution at these 2 schools. We have been told of the investigation at Parkinson and the plan of action at Alma Paris, and we have not been given any idea since that preliminary meeting as to what the investigation or the plan of action entails. And the BUT certainly is not taking the matter lightly. So I can assure you that the BUT will respond appropriately come Thursday or Friday, or both days.
As it relates to the Parkinson School over in the Pine, Mr. Shepherd says the evidence is before the relevant authorities.
I think the teachers have aired their side. The ministry is quite aware of both sides. The evidence, as I said, is before the Ministry of Education and the Chief Personnel Officer, and they need to make the determination as to where the situation is to go with respect to the Parkinson Secondary School. So the evidence is there before them, and they can do what they have with the evidence, but failing to respond to the Barbados Union of Teachers within the next few hours, we are going to make, as I said, our determination this evening as to where we go from here, but it cannot continue as usual at the 2 schools.
A female Jamaican national, the subject of a recent wanted bulletin, has turned herself into police. Carry-on Kelly, 25 years, is now assisting lawmen with an ongoing investigation. She surrendered herself to police at the Oyston station sometime yesterday. It's a project Barbados is hoping to revive and get up and running. Now it appears that the Inter-American Development Bank is no longer interested in the stalled Four Seasons resort. The IDB, after giving its approval on May 23, 2012, has cancelled its planned loan for the Black Rock St. Michael property. The IDB was to disburse $55 million to help restart that construction. The project status on the bank's webpage has been updated to cancelled. And we'll have more news right after the break, but first we want to get your take on this question. Do you believe that teachers should take protest action on Thursday? You can text yes or no to short code 8111, and we'll have the result for you at the end of our news.
Win a cruise this year with Byco. Just spend $10 on any Byco product and claim a scratch card. You could win 2 7-day Carnival cruises, courtesy of Foster and Ince, and 2 dinner cruises from Black Pearl Party Cruises, or one of 500 1-liters of Byco ice cream and 1,000 Byco bandanas. See press for a list of participating outlets or call Byco at 430-2100.
You just got into a car accident. Now you have to fix it and you don't have a cent. Don't worry, be happy. Your home got flooded out and you've lost it all, and chances to recover start to look very small. Don't worry, be happy.
Want to live the worry-free life today? Call us at Beacon or log on to beacon.co.tt. Beacon Insurance, switched on.
One time they had thought of building it up like where the hospital is now, and dredging out all of that area and building a harbour up in there. But that would have taken up a lot of valuable land, you couldn't have expanded it. And I suppose that eventually they thought, well, the most sensible thing was to build it in the open sea there where they could expand it, and it has been expanded.
This is the story of Barbados' sea portal, the port of Bridgetown, and it's coming soon to CBC TV8.
Scholarship fund has been launched at the Lodge School in the name of the first black head boy, Major Sam Headley. He was also a teacher and a permanent secretary in the Ministry of Defense and Security. Major Headley, who was humbled by the honor, encouraged the students to use whatever God-given talents they have to the best of their ability.
And don't look over and yearn to be able to do mathematics as good as that fellow yonder. You can do science better than he can, or you can do languages. My brother in Canada was better at mathematics than me, but he's in Canada, I'm here.
Major Headley was speaking during the launch of the scholarship at the school yesterday morning. Chairman of Williams Industries, Ralph Busy Williams, is funding the scholarship, which will assist students in need or those who show good academic performance. And emotional, Mr. Williams says Major Headley believed in him when no one else did, when he had the vision for a factory.
When a decision was taken by a then Minister of Government to prevent me from starting the first factory, Major Sam Headley, who was then the permanent secretary, arranged for a meeting with the Prime Minister. And that's how it all started.
The National HIV/AIDS Commission is focusing on men in its strategic plan for 2014 to 2018. The message came from behavioral change communication specialist Alexis Nurse. She was speaking at the Love, Poetry and Song workshop held at Ammon Bay. Ms. Nurse says that decision to make them the focus is due to concerning statistics about men living with HIV/AIDS. As a result, the plan will specifically focus on how to target and educate men.
We found that in the past, men have not come forward in the way that we would want them to come forward. They don't go to the polyclinics to get tested and so on. So it may mean that we have to do some special things in order to ensure that men are comfortable enough to come forward and test for HIV or to find out get other information. I think that's another part of the problem, is that a lot of men are not as well educated about HIV as we would like. There are certain men who will tell you things like, you know, if I drink enough rum, it will get rid of it, and those, or I won't get excited or whatever if a woman has something that will make me ill.
Ms. Nurse says it has been difficult to get men to reach out to the Commission, and therefore the intention is for the Commission to reach out to them. The Medical Intensive Care Unit, or MICU, at the Queen Elizabeth Hospital will continue to receive support from the Broadway to Barbados Charitable Trust. This commitment from the trustees. It was made during the official launch of the Broadway to Barbados stage performance at the hospital. Chief Executive Officer of the QEH, Dr. Dexter James, says discussions have been ongoing about new ways to assist the unit.
We discussed the work program, and Mr. Bork will expand on the work program, but it entails continued support for the Richie Haynes Medical Intensive Care Unit in terms of training. It involves training of critical care nurses. It involves a recognition program for nursing. It involves an expansion of the services to include support for the Accident and Emergency Department.
In the last 2 years, the trust has managed to generate just over $700,000, which has gone to help the hospital. Chairman of the trust, Robert Bork, says the stage performance this year will be dedicated to the nurses of the hospital.
I believe it's fair to say they're the largest group of support staff in the hospital, and we wish to recognize their commitment. Very often they're in the background, they're forgotten about. And we don't wish that to happen. We wish to bring them to the forefront